She's dead. Wrapped in plastic.
Welcome to the Twin Peaks Podcast.
Damn good coffee. And hot. Would everyone please take a seat?
Hello and welcome back to the Twin Peaks Podcast. It's been a while. My name's Matt.
I'm Melanie.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Brad.
Yay, we are back after what, like 2 years? When did The Missing Pieces come out? Yeah, 2014, I think.
Yeah, it's 2 years.
Yeah. Doesn't seem that long ago. But yeah, we're back for this, a new piece of Twin Peaks came out. I'm sure all the mega fans have already read this. But that's good, so you can listen to us talk about it. We're going to discuss Mark Frost's new book, The Secret History of Twin Peaks. Did you guys do audiobook or physical book or?
I did the audiobook and the Kindle version.
Okay.
I gotta do double dukes.
Does the Kindle version have all the illustrations as well, or is it just...
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did the physical book, the very physical pages book.
All right.
Okay.
So Brad, you did like us, where you listened to it and just basically let the CD read the book to you.
I went back and forth. That's kind of how I roll most of the time. Like, I buy every book twice, so I can read it for a while, and then all right, I'm gonna go walk somewhere and listen to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back in. Which I'm glad I did, because this audiobook is bonkers.
There were a fair few pictures. How did the audiobook, did you get like extra pages or something, or?
No, I think the audiobook actually omitted a few things.
Yeah.
Not too much, but there was like a page or two, I think.
Sometimes they would even say names wrong.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
Really?
The audiobook would differ from what was on the page a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. They either read way too much of the book, like every single
file
detail.
Numbers and stuff.
Yeah. Or yeah.
I did just say I felt so bad for the actress that's being TP, because it's constant, she's trying so hard to have a performance and have a character, but she really just leans on reading those initials. Well, this sure does seem strange. TP. I don't know about this.
I guess, yeah. Much as you can do with a bunch of footnotes and side notes.
She's really trying to do a performance, and I feel terrible because it's just nothing there.
So that's the premise of this book, is that it's the FBI found a dossier in a safe, I believe, full of a bunch of recorded information, like an archivist pulled together all this information about, I mean, it's supposed to be the secret history of Twin Peaks, but I mean, 70% of this book has nothing to do with Twin Peaks. And
we should also mention that the archivist has labeled themselves as the archivist, this mysterious pseudonym. Yeah. So
you've got the archivist collecting all this information, and then this agent that Gordon Cole assigns to this thing going through it. So you've got notes from the archivist and notes from TP, the agent, and stuff. What were you going to say, Brad?
I was just going to ask, how many syllables into this before you were completely positive of who the archivist was?
It took me a while, actually.
About halfway through, I was like, it's probably Major Briggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, well, it's obviously Major Briggs. Then I was like, well, maybe it's somebody. No, it's Major Briggs. Okay.
I didn't really think too hard about it, because I was just like, alright, whatever, just trying to get through this damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they really try to make it's a mystery. I forgot for a while that it was supposed to be mysterious.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah. We don't know who this is yet. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, once I think it's really obvious though. Like, once you figure it out, it's like, oh yeah.
I really like the premise of this book. How it's like a collection of articles and documents, like found items, like all compiled together. But I mean, that's interesting, but it's also bad because it makes everything goes into needless detail. Like not everything that's on this document is important. Like there might be one revelation on it, but then you've got to hear about all the hotels that this person stayed at and stuff, and like all this just superfluous information. It just kind of makes it a chore to get through.
I think it almost would have made sense to divide it into different volumes.
Yeah.
And then people could choose what they want to read, like the sort of almost unrelated history of Twin Peaks, and then like the history that overlaps with the characters we know, and then
Did you find it hard? Because you just read the book, Caitlin. So I'm just wondering if you found it hard to get through reading it.
No, I think it was like interesting to read. It's just there's just so much of it. It felt to me almost like I was reading the Onion Book of Knowledge. If you're familiar with that.
No.
Okay, so you know the satirical news site, The Onion?
Yes.
Okay, so they've released something akin to an encyclopedia, with just completely falsified history, and it's just ridiculous. And as I was reading it, like I remember at the beginning when I was reading about Lewis and Clark, and I'm like, okay, what of these pieces of information are actually fact, and what has been made up? I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's like the means of this being put together. It's interesting to a point, but it also excuses a lot of sloppy nonsense. Because I feel like a lot of this is just like Mark Frost being like, okay, I'm gonna put all this in writing, and that way when we start the new series, David Lynch has to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's like him getting back at David Lynch for like David Lynch doing that movie without him, and now all that's canon, and he has to deal with that.
Yeah.
And now
But
David Lynch has to deal with this.
Some of what he wrote wasn't even canon to begin with.
Yeah.
Who?
Mark Frost.
Oh,
he changed some of the stuff.
Yeah, I guess we can get into that. How I don't understand how this happened. Like he's got. I don't know if it has to be, the inconsistencies with the series have to be intentional, because he's got some things that are super obscure and he gets them perfect, and then he's got major things that he gets completely wrong about, like what we know of characters from the series compared to this book. Like you guys noticed that too, right?
It's been so long for me. Things vaguely seemed a little off, but I couldn't remember specifics.
Okay, well, mainly it's like Norma and Ed and Nadine, their whole story. He got that completely wrong, or he just changed it on purpose. I'm not sure. Norma's mother, he said, is some woman named Ilsa, and she's dead and stuff. But in the series, we saw Norma's mother was M.T. Wentz.
Yeah.
And, there's no mention of Annie. There's, she has, a different maiden name, I think. That, Annie's name was Blackburn, and Norma's maiden name was something else. It wasn't Blackburn. I don't know. They like he said, Pete played chess, not checkers, not chess, when we know he played chess. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then he got something right, he described Lana Milford's dance as contortionistic jazz exotica, which is exactly how they said it in the series,
Well, of course you remember that dance.
Maybe it's like the new season of Gilmore Girls they released. They were doing it on their own terms, ending it how they thought it should be ended when it didn't end in the original series, people wanted.
They retconned a bunch of stuff?
I haven't watched it, but I think that's the concept of it. They pretty much did.
Did they do that in the X-Files, Brad? For the new season of the X-Files? Did they, ignore some stuff that came before?
Well, they ignored the fact that Mulder was an escaped convict on death row. Who broke out of prison, but they also ignored that for the second movie. But X-Files also ignores all the continuity every season. So,
yeah.
Anyways, if this is an indication of what they're going to do with season 3, I'm very worried. This entire book makes me worried. If the made there's so much mention of UFOs and extraterrestrials and nuclear launch missiles and stuff, and if that's what season 3 is about, I won't be able to look forward to the story. I'll be able to look forward to the acting, the character moments, the cinematography and the music, but the story is just going to be a write-off for me.
I don't know if you're going to have time to get into much of this in the new series, because it's just going to be seeing cameos of all the actors that are in the show, because there's
a lot of actors.
Yeah.
Maybe this was just his chance to write about all the stuff that he wish he could be in the series, but he won't be.
Oh yeah, okay. After sifting through all the UFO, because I was like trying to find what Norma's last name was, I was like, I'm never gonna find that page. It's just UFO. Oh, it's Lindstrom. Yeah.
All right. Well, do you guys want to go through whatever notes you have?
Yes.
Chronologically here, I'll start out, and we get Gordon Cole opens the whole thing with a letter to TP, and he's played by David Patrick Kelly. Is playing Gordon Cole in the audiobook.
Disappointing.
It would have been nice if they could have got David Lynch,
but that's not realistic, I guess.
David Patrick Kelly's not. He doesn't yell enough to be Gordon.
No.
He
He tries to do a little flavor of David Lynch accent though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's fun.
And the dossiers that he's giving to TP, a lot of the stuff is redacted, but I mean, it's just within the FBI. It's like an FBI person giving it to another FBI person, so why is it redacted?
Levels of clearance. Bureaucracy.
But their own name is redacted. To agent redacted. Wait, it's me.
I also didn't understand why a dossier would have to be kept in a clean room. I thought that went without saying. I don't know.
So the book begins with it goes way back to Lewis and Clark times. I thought that was kind of interesting. What did you guys think of that?
I wish there was more of that. I didn't really want to get to actual Twin Peaks timeline of the show, because we start off and it's kind of this mysterious, spooky story going on, and that's fun.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that. That's what I wanted the book to be. I wanted it to be the history of the area around Twin Peaks, all the way back to native times, and just hear all these spooky tales of crazy things going on. And we did get a little bit of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was like a sudden shift towards all of a sudden there's UFOs. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Because we're following, it starts off, it seems like we're going to be following the ring around.
Yeah.
Because Lewis and Clark get the ring, and it's oh, okay, well, this is fun.
Yeah, it was.
The ring shows up a few times, but I don't understand the connection between all the people wearing the ring.
No, and we'll talk about Jack Parsons in a bit, but I got a lot to say about that. But it's so strange, and I also like the fact that we're getting letters, and it's it seems whatever the hell happened with Lewis and Clark, it's super mysterious and shifty, and we don't know, and people are forgetting things, and that's fun.
There's there's some very sad stories about the way some Native Americans were treated, and every time they said the name of the tribe, Mel screamed out loud.
Well, first of all, that tribe. Okay, so they pronounce it Nez Perce, and I know that's probably how most people pronounce it, but it's a French word, so being French, I was like, no, it's properly pronounced Ne Perce, but I couldn't get too mad because I know that's not even what they call themselves. That's not even their proper name, anyways, for their tribe.
Yeah, that's what the white people
call them.
It's a name
that was assigned to them, and they didn't even have pierced noses. So yeah, it's just kind of stupid to begin with. But yeah, it's still got to be. So yeah, they said it about 100 times, and every time I was like.
I didn't realize. And this is crazy that I didn't know this, but I didn't know that Meriwether Lewis died in the at the Natchez Trace, which was very near where I grew up. I actually spent my 17th birthday at Natchez Trace State Park, where I saw the world's largest pecan tree.
Oh.
Now, it wasn't the world's largest living pecan tree.
Oh.
Because the tree had been struck by lightning and they filled it with concrete.
What?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's super dumb, but that was a fun memory that came back to me.
That was crazy though. I didn't even know that he died like that. I had no idea about the. Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, I'm wondering how much of the historical stuff is accurate.
It's I kept thinking oh, this doesn't, but there's a lot of it that's I mean, it is mysterious about how he died. They're not sure if it was a suicide or a murder. But yeah, it's kind of sketchy.
Is liver-eating Johnson a real guy?
Probably.
I'm gonna assume he's Leo's ancestor.
Definitely. Come on.
I have a note here that near the beginning of the book, TP is very Scully-like. She's like, "Show me the science, please." TP.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand what these notes are, because, and I get that we're creating a story here and we're trying to build suspense, but so many of these comments are real time thoughts that are like,
yeah,
I don't know about this. TP. And I'm like, who are you telling this to?
Yeah, a lot of these notes, they're real time, like you said. You'd think you would read the whole thing first and then go back and make your notes, because she asks oh, I wonder who the archivist is. Oh, I think we're going to find out who the archivist is. If you just read ahead, you'd find out who the archivist is. Then you could go back to the beginning and read it again and write your notes knowing all the information.
And there's so much of checking into this, verified. Yeah. This is real. What do you know? Who is this for? If you're gonna do this, at least put sticky notes on it. That's the way these comments should be made.
Even her end report, on the very last page, it was very it didn't sound very professional to me. It was very conversational for a report, anyways, in my opinion. Because she was like, I still don't know about any of this, but you guys could be the judge of that.
Well, then what are we paying you for?
Yeah,
it's true.
Tamara Preston, you're a failure.
But I assume that they're just doing this to introduce the character to us. I assume she's going to be on the show.
Do we know that? Do we know anything about that yet?
No. I don't think we know anything.
No, but that's what my assumption is. That
I would hope so.
There's so many new cast members.
Yeah, it's almost a given. There's definitely going to be a Tamara Preston in there somewhere.
So yeah, there's in the Native American times in the book, there's mentions of sky people and giant race and stuff. And as soon as they said sky people, that was the first indication where it was my note here says better not be aliens. How wrong I was. It's all aliens. Anything else
with
the early
they
stuff?
were trying to hide it was all a conspiracy to hide giant bones, and that to me is pretty ridiculous. How can you hide giant bones? I mean, you'd think you'd uncover them at some point.
There's giant footprints.
Yeah.
This is no giant bone. Why, this is no. What's that over there?
Why so early on did they try to cover it up? Did they have some history of this from the old world or what?
I don't know.
Yeah, and we really get into some Mason, Illuminati nonsense too.
Some sort of Welsh prince from the 12th century. I don't. I can't remember what that was about, but that's the note I have.
Yeah, there's a lot of throwing a lot of things on the wall.
Yeah.
I also thought the plea for peace and equality. I'm looking at it right now. I thought it was funny that they included all caps in this. I was like, so are they trying to tell us that Chief Joseph is yelling certain things in this? Because he's just some parts of it are all caps, and I thought that was an odd choice. I don't think they would do that back then.
Yeah, this is before the age of the internet. Caps had totally different meaning then.
Yeah, I guess.
I liked that speech though, and I liked Michael Horse reading it.
Yes, that was really good.
Yeah.
Too bad it fell on deaf ears. Chief Joseph was good until he mentioned the Great Spirit Chief, and then everyone in the room was like, Jesus, get to that reservation.
Cool.
As you like that they mentioned that Liver-eating Johnson is the person that Robert Redford's Jeremiah Johnson was based on, because that's a great movie.
So he must have been a real guy then.
Yeah, I assume.
Well, after all that stuff, you get into a little bit of early Twin Peaks stuff with child versions of Andrew Packard and Doug Milford and Dwayne Milford and all them.
Did we even talk about
Log Lady?
The two
Log Lady, yeah.
Did we talk about the two dudes that were what happened there?
What two dudes?
The two dudes in Owl Cave. We didn't talk about those guys. The two they were
right.
kind of backwater, kind of like.
What happened?
Yeah, they stole a map off a Indian and then or something, or some guy who got it from Indians.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I don't remember.
They just like stole the map of Owl Cave, but
They were looking for gold. They thought there was like a lot of gold
okay.
prospected there. Yeah, and they ended up just like disappearing.
Yeah. It was just funny to me that they were like, like they can't, the natives can't draw for shit, but let me copy this map anyways. Like, what? And,
I would have loved to hear the audio for that, just because of the language that was used.
Well, it was funny because one of the guys took the time to write out "what the" when an owl flew by.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, that took me 5 seconds to write out "what the." Why would you bother doing that?
Yeah, that's just like the Monty Python Holy Grail joke with the legendary black beast of
There's a lot of that in this book, though.
Yeah, he must have
It's
died.
almost terrible.
He must have died while writing it.
And I don't want to skip too far ahead, but my favorite, I think, is later on with Major Briggs, like, "Oh, Agent Cooper's here. I'm gonna go answer the door."
Yeah.
Just let me finish this before I go. Yeah. Right around there was the first of like the creepy overlay pictures with like owls and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Owls being
Those men-
Illuminati.
They got pretty weird.
Illuminati owls. Ah.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. So, Boy Scouts, Andrew Packard and Milford. You don't like that part?
I am impressed at how many times they mention Boy Scouts in this book.
Seriously, it is like a solid. It was like a third of the book is Boy Scouts.
This is totally when the book started going downhill for me.
Is it?
Yes. It's just an overly long article about a camping trip. I just feel like it could be so much shorter. Like, I don't know. I know people like to like write really long articles back then, but I don't know.
Yeah, because I also because this is now we're introducing like characters that we know from the show, and it feels like we're just getting the Muppet Babies version of Twin Peaks.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. I just felt like the book was really into itself, you know? Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. What are you looking up, Matt?
Well, I'm just pulling up our email for later.
Oh, we have feedback for this, do we?
I believe so.
Oh.
So yeah, what do you guys think of it grabbing Doug Milford, like a fairly small character in the series, and almost making him the protagonist of this book?
It's just it's a different character altogether. You can't
Yeah.
I don't remember. Was there anything? Did we even know he had like a military background of any sort?
No,
no.
we barely knew anything about him from that one episode he was in.
I was gonna say, I was like, only thing I remember is like the fight.
Yeah. He was in a fight with his brother, and then he got married.
Yeah.
He danced with his new wife, and then he died. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
I guess if you need a protagonist,
I guess he probably wanted a protagonist that he could make up a lot of stuff about, because the other ones, maybe you wouldn't get to be so creative. But I don't know if this is the kind of book where you want to, like, go in a completely different path. You know, that's what it felt like he did to me. Like, he went down a completely different road from what Twin Peaks is.
It's such a weird mishmash of fan service and like UFO nonsense and like random historical things. It's just like I feel like he was just like writing this in like sections of like, what do I feel like talking about today? Huh.
Yeah. It's almost like it had been things that he was reading about recently or something, and he's like, "Oh, this is interesting. I'll write about this."
Yeah, because the UFO stuff just doesn't connect. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't like the UFOs mixing it with Twin Peaks, because Twin Peaks is like mystical and like spooky.
Yeah,
like
it's completely different.
It's
like there's UFOs in the series for about 5 seconds, and then they dismissed it completely and be like, nope. those signals came from the woods. It's the woods. It's not space. Forget about UFOs. But now we're all in on UFOs.
Yeah, and near the end of the book, they kind of try to walk it back, and they're like, oh, well, actually, these things, we thought they were UFOs and aliens, but I think there's something else. I think there's something greater. And it's like, well, but you've really kind of been leaning into this UFO thing now.
Yeah, they've described saucers, they've described lights above, they've described a fucking alien, like, in an interrogation room or something that Doug Milford sees with his own eyes. Like, a gray. There's a gray in this book.
That he sees with Richard Nixon and the guy from the Honeymooners. Like,
so I mean, either it's mystical, alternate realities and dimensions, like we thought it was, or it's all UFOs, or maybe it's both. I don't know. I mean, I think I heard
it's such a specific mythology. We've got like the Black Lodge, and we've got this ring. Like those things, like those work together, and it's one thing. It's not a lot of things. Like you can't just say, oh, "Well, this area is a lot of things."
Well, I believe there was a early draft of, I can't remember if it was the movie or one of the later TV episodes where they were going to have the Black Lodge people be from another planet, a planet of entirely creamed corn, and I'm so glad they didn't do that. It was like, you know how the Garmin Bozia is the cream corn or whatever, like that was their planet was going to be like made of that completely. They didn't end up doing this. I'm glad they didn't do this, but now it seems like they might be doing this.
Amazing.
Wow.
And I'm scared.
I'm just picturing like a bunch of grays, like just walking through, sifting through the corn, like
slosh.
Oh god.
Oh my god. That's their mud puddles.
Yeah. I've got two notes here pretty close together. Mel fell asleep.
Oh, I fell
and
asleep.
then
more than once.
Mel fell asleep again. This is another the next day, and then I put, oh well, no big deal, because this was during the height of like the UFO and the government and Men in Black, and I'm just like, there's nothing of substance here. Like this, I'm not. Another note says this is a slog.
Yeah.
Like
there's so many details of different accounts.
Yeah.
I actually wrote, I said snooze, so boring, alien conspiracies, and then I said if this wasn't so into itself, this better not be all X-Files. And it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because I thought we were going to get a Slenderman there for a second with the Boy Scouts.
Some other interesting things about the early history of the town is that Hank's dad drowned in a bathtub of homemade beer. Was it Hank's dad or his grandfather?
His grandfather, and then his dad also.
And then his dad got run over by a beer truck or something.
Weird.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty great.
Oh, Hank.
Yeah.
We delve into the logging history for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With the Martells and the Packards, and
that's actually the more interesting part to me. Like the history of the families that I care about, that I know of. I want to know more about them. Yeah.
I like
dynasty there.
Yeah, I like the part where they're talking about how James Packard came to the town, and he was like, they describe how he was touched by the beauty of virgin forests. So then he decided to cut all the lumber down for profit.
Is this the part that Robert Jacoby wrote?
Yeah. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Hand me the chainsaw.
Yeah.
Did we know anything about Jacoby's brother before this?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
He's a character.
New character who looks exactly the same. They just use
slightly photoshopped.
They used pictures of what's his face? The actor. I can't remember the actor's name.
I also like some of the names. Zebulon. I love that name.
Zebulon Martell and Danville Horn.
I'm just scanning through this book like as we talk, and it's like the amount of effort to making all these random ass documents, because it's mostly random documents. It's bizarre. Like a lot of work went into this.
Yes.
Another thing they changed is I think they changed the location of the Fat Trailer Park from the movie, the one that Carl Rod, which is Harry Dean Stanton's character, one that he runs. I think in the book they're implying that it's in Twin Peaks, like not in Deer Meadow, but it's another inconsistency.
Do we know that this book was entirely written like recently, or maybe that Mark Frost had compiled a lot of stuff early on?
I think I heard in an interview that he's been working on it for the past year.
Okay.
So yeah.
He must have, though, a lot of stuff he pulled from like previous, writings and background. Yeah.
It's possible. You get the story of when the log lady was abducted as a child.
The log lady and Carl, the guy from the trailer park.
He was abducted too.
Yeah.
So like,
and some random dude that lives
kid
in Hollywood and died.
Yeah.
So the log lady has a tattoo on the back of her leg.
Mm-hmm. Which we saw in the series, yeah.
Yeah.
There's some mention of Weyerhaeuser, which is a real sawmill company. And actually in real life, the Packard sawmill that they filmed was a Weyerhaeuser mill.
Oh.
We get some like history on the Renault family, and they were criminals from the beginning, getting involved in the Packard and Martel fights for them.
This just takes, I don't know, this is something, you just see this a lot when you try to go into like the history of something, or like you do a time travel story. Everybody's like relatives are all represented, and I'm like, okay, do we really need the Renaults involved?
Small towns, man. Actually, they're not even they're from a different country.
It does seem like, because it is true, like, families do kind of come in and out of stories, like, they'll be prominent for one generation and then kind of back away and not, So it does seem a little ridiculous that, the Renaults have been, like, involved in crime since, like, the dawn of time, Kind of.
You know what this reminds me of is, I don't know if you've seen Xena the Warrior Princess, but they do a lot of random episodes where they do reincarnations, like, in present time of Xena and Gabrielle. And, like, they're essentially almost the same characters. It's just like descendants, so it's just kind of funny what they do with them.
Yeah, it's almost like they don't even take into consideration that people might develop different personalities or different, they might want to work somewhere else,
Listen, we're the Renaults. Listen, we're scoundrels, have been for 5 generations. Just staying in the area, being scoundrels. Somehow we keep doing it. No one seems to stop us.
Well, the sheriff before Harry Truman was his brother Frank, I think, and then before him was his father Frederick Truman.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they were as incompetent as he is.
Well,
very good question.
And this is something I just noticed on IMDb when I was trying to see if we were going to see old TP. Old Frank Truman seems to be, he's going to be in the show.
Oh, really?
Oh my goodness.
Interesting.
So, I guess he's the sheriff.
Maybe.
He's moving back into town.
We're going to get some flashbacks.
Fixing all the mistakes.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, maybe that's why people accepted Harry Truman, because he had such a legacy of like a good cop family. But even though he sucked, people still thought come around. He's a late bloomer.
Maybe he's been fired. We find out Dr. Jacoby loses his license. He won't be practicing medicine or psychology.
He wasn't to begin with.
Yeah, I guess.
But I do find his losing his license a little questionable.
Really?
Well, granted, we know he's a lunatic, but I don't really know what the charge was, because he didn't recognize that Laura was being molested. Like, that's not his fault.
I can't remember what I don't know if they said what it was over.
Well, because he writes a letter and he says that there's been an inquiry because of all this shit going down, but then he's like, listen, and he's clearly just beating himself up over it, and then he loses his license. Why?
I assumed it was because he had an inappropriate relationship with Laura.
Maybe. That might be it.
Yeah, I made that assumption. He never mentioned, but that's.
I just figured with everything else that's spelled out in black and white in this book, if that was the reason, they would have said it.
Yeah.
It really comes across as though that they investigated him because, hey, one of your patients committed suicide.
Yeah, that does seem silly, if that's the reason.
Oh, another thing we found out is that the Bookhouse Boys' motto is justice and literacy.
So weird.
That's a pretty good motto.
And James does not follow the motto because he doesn't read.
character. I loved how they made James out to be like super stupid in the book too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I tell you guys a spoiler? I heard about the third season, or did I already tell you this? Involving James's occupation.
No.
Apparently, if my sources are correct, James is a janitor in the new season.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
It fits. Yeah.
Love it.
He probably didn't finish school.
I'd love it if he was like the janitor at the sheriff's station and he would
think he
just
might
like,
be.
drop all the time.
Oh my god!
I can't remember where he's a janitor, but I think it might be the police station.
Nice. I
Um,
like the idea of Andy makes more money than he does.
Oh, and it's been confirmed as canon within this book, at least, that the town sign is a misprint. They mentioned the town sign being a misprint. Why would they never fix that? Even in the third season trailer, they uncovered the sign, which I assume they're going to be using in the third season. It's still misprinted. There's still an extra 10,000 people or something.
They're just trying to make themselves out to be better than they are. You know, just trying to. Hey guys, we're important. We're up there.
Or 30.
Including all the UFOs in the population.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the aliens.
Yeah.
Woods, guys.
I was very surprised after we got through the part to find that my favorite part of this book was actually learning Josie's history.
What?
That's
Yeah.
cool.
I liked Josie's backstory. I liked hearing her. They went into a lot of detail about her childhood and how she killed her dad, and she got booted out of the triads basically, and it went through her whole plan of what she did with Andrew Packard and stuff. And it actually, she's more resourceful and cunning than you comes
Well,
across.
she was one of
in
the dullest characters in the TV show, so it's awesome
Yeah.
to hear this.
And I think that's part of why, even in the book, I just kind of zoned out for that. I'm like, all right, okay, you can tell me that she's really cool and has an awesome backstory as much as you want, but I never saw any of that. So cool.
Yeah.
Also, didn't she turn into a doorknob? Why are we talking about her autopsy?
Yeah.
Yeah. She lost a bunch of pounds. It went straight into the doorknob.
I'm like, could we learn more about people turning into doorknobs and less about autopsies?
I liked when they talked about the football game that Hank threw.
Yeah. And
Because I like the interviews afterwards where they're talking to people and everybody's like, they lost the football game. My life is over. I'm like, you might as well go kill yourself right now. You've got nothing left to live for.
Sports is serious business in America.
They were really
It's
serious
so
about
crazy.
it.
There are bizarre tone shifts in this book, and this is where we're getting into the Dale Cooper section. He's just talking about all the things he loves about the town and getting into town history and getting into all the characters, and it is a violent shift in narrative.
Yeah, and this is all stuff that Cooper would have compiled or written after he was possessed by Bob and before he ended up leaving town. So I'm like, why is Bob Coop compiling the history of these folks?
Oy. Yeah.
He even put the menu from the diner inside the official FBI documents.
Yeah, and let's talk about this diner, because everyone eats there, but based on these prices seem a bit high for the time.
Yeah, I didn't.
I'm looking at it now, and I'm seeing $1.75 for coffee. Back then,
It should be 50 cents, 75 cents.
the meals, we're talking. I'm seeing 2 eggs is $4, which is okay. But we got some combos that are $10 here, and I'm like, for that time, I feel like that is a bit pricey. Double R.
Yeah.
You guys. I know you're the only game in town, but still.
They have a monopoly on the restaurant business.
$4 for a soda? Come on.
Yeah.
So apparently the Double R Diner used to be called Marty's Diner, which is probably a pun on the real life name of the diner, which is the Marty, I imagine. But then Cooper says, everyone just started calling it the Double R, but I don't think it ever says why people started calling it Double R. Where's the Double R come from?
I think it was because it was by the railroad or something.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, at the top of one of the menus, on the menu, it says, it gives a history of the restaurant.
Railroad Diner.
Yeah.
Okay. We find out that Big Ed was in the army. Well, no, he was in the mechanics corps in the army, yeah. Which we never knew. Which, I mean, it makes sense that a lot of these characters in Twin Peaks would have gone to Vietnam. Mm. They're old enough for it, I think.
Not nearly enough Hawk in this book for my taste.
Yeah.
Why didn't we get his entire family history?
What they did have of Hawk, I didn't really like it.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's really just him talking about Ed and Norma.
Oh, wait. We weren't paying attention to the recording.
Okay, just one sec.
Yeah.
Gotta restart it. We missed about a second. Okay.
Whole second.
We lost a second of our recording.
Beautiful second. It's a tremendous, very huge second.
Where was I? Oh yeah, he changed the Ed and Nadine backstory all around. We also revealed that Nadine was in the nut house for a while.
And then when she got out, she put on a beret and pretended she'd been a French exchange student.
Yes. Oh, and Coop says he was on to Josie, and then he says he was on to her long before he actually was in the show. Like,
what a jerk.
We do find a little bit more of stuff that happened after the final episode. We find out that Pete died, which makes sense because this actor died. But he shielded Audrey with his body.
That's another thing I didn't like was Audrey's letter to her dad. I thought that was it's not accurate, first of all, because she was like talking about how he's still kind of in shady dealings. I was like, no, he's trying to get away from that now.
Yeah,
he's
changed.
Eating carrots now. He's not smoking cigars anymore.
He's trying to be good, so they got rid of that.
Yeah.
They mentioned that the fire at the mill, but they said that happened after the bank explosion, which is the other way around in the series. They got Ben's Civil War story wrong. They said that Ben had to play out losing the Civil War when they had in the series that he won the Civil War. There's just a whole bunch of things that are wrong.
Yeah, it's just kind of a lazy mess. Like, that whole section just feels so rushed.
Yeah, and I wanted more of that. That's what I wanted for this book. And there's that kind of stuff only takes about 30% of this book.
Yeah,
I enjoyed 30% of this book. Basically.
Oh my god! And when we're finding out about Hank and like it's revealed to everyone, he apologizes, and then he admits to throwing the football game. Like,
oh, you mean when he was in prison and wrote like his goodbye?
Yeah, and then he got knifed by a Renault cousin.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I am Frederic Renault.
We get to see everyone's favorite book.
Which one?
Oh yes. When they said like
boys.
all the Bookhouse Boys.
Oh yeah.
Oh jeez, yeah.
I thought you meant we got to see everyone's favorite book, as in there's one book and everybody.
Oh yes,
just, like,
I wish.
It's like what book would that be?
And we find out James's favorite book is Charlotte's Web.
Well, yeah. Probably had the most words that he can understand. The other ones look a little too advanced for him.
And there's like a whole thing about like from Dr. Jacoby where he's talking about stuff revealed to him while he's on drugs and stuff. And I'm like, why does anybody trust anything that is revealed to them while their brain is being altered by drugs? Well, how do you think that's truthful information that's coming to you?
I didn't like it when they were talking about it earlier in the book too. They were talking about some sort of like indigenous ritual or something, and I was like, he was talking about his whole trip.
Lewis did it?
Yeah, Lewis did it, and I was like, oh, this is so boring. Like, why? I don't know. It's just not interesting to me. It's just, it's a bunch of nonsense.
Oh, Mark Frost really beats on L. Ron Hubbard next.
Yeah.
It makes him sound like a really horrible guy, which I'm sure he wasn't a nice guy, but all I could think of was poor Walter Alkowitz.
Seriously.
He's a Scientologist, and I'm sure he would not like reading this. He's in the new season, by the way.
Oh, is he?
I'm pretty sure he's on the cast list.
But
yeah,
how? Who is he?
I don't know. Yeah. So I'm not looking forward to seeing him. I'm just going to double check that. But Yeah, so then it starts getting back into military UFO, like secret stuff. L. Ron Hubbard and Nixon show up.
Brad, take away.
This is when I turned around on this book, because until this point I'm like, this is strange. Most of it's kind of useless. I really feel like this is a cash grab. But then we get a scene, and I'm so glad I didn't have the book in front of me and I was just listening to the audio at this point. Because the scene starts, and it's Richard Nixon, and I pause it, because I'm like, does this book really... Are we now talking to Richard Nixon? Is this a character in this book now? That's insane. Oh, but who's Richard Nixon talking to? L. Ron Hubbard. So we have a scene in which Richard Nixon is interviewing L. Ron Hubbard about his meetings with Jack Parsons. And they kind of get... I will give this, they kind of cover this pretty accurately. Because Jack Parsons, if you're unaware, he was involved with the creation of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and he was also, super, super into, occult nonsense and Aleister Crowley, and L. Ron Hubbard lived with him for a while, and eventually stole his girlfriend and, all of his money, and used a lot of his stuff as the basis for creating his crazy cult. So I was glad it got there, but then it goes really, really off the rails. But the idea that Richard Nixon would be interviewing L. Ron Hubbard, because at this point, L. Ron Hubbard is because I think it was 1949 and when this is supposed to be happening, which is
Army.
Yeah, which L. Ron Hubbard in the Army was the most ridiculous of failures. He was in charge of a ship at one point, and he was sure that there was a secret submarine below him, and so he spent a day bombing nothing.
What?
And other ships came by, and he was like, hey, there's a Japanese submarine here. And they're like, no, there's not. And he's like, yes, there is. And it was nothing. There was nothing there.
What?
It wasn't long after that he was no longer in charge of that ship.
Wow.
I really liked how Mark Frost got Nixon to say the line, "I am not a kook." I am not a kook.
Why would Richard Nixon... even though he's a congressman at this time, he's not the president yet, obviously. But why would he meet with this failed military officer that faked his injuries to get out of service?
Who knows?
It's so dumb.
Something to do with UFOs. I really wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. I know we'll get back to Jack Parsons later. I just want to jump into it real quick and just finish that off. Because later we find out Milford goes and meets him, and we find out that he had the ring at some point somehow, and they try to say that's how he died. He basically blew himself up. But yeah, Milford finds out that he gets the ring there or something.
But Nixon had the ring too. He didn't die.
Yeah. What they don't say, and I can't believe this wasn't mentioned, because when Jack Parsons died, there was something creepy found, but it wasn't a ring.
What was it?
It was a box decorated with, dragons and spooky imagery, and inside it was some films of Jack Parsons having sex with his mother, and the two of them having sex with their dog.
Oh!
No!
Yes. What? Yes, if you want to look up a crazy story, look up Jack Parsons, because it is an unending well of insanity.
Wow.
TP, why didn't you tell us about that?
Seriously, I was waiting. I was like, so when are we talking about that sex with the mom and the dog?
Yeah. TP has some weird offhand comments though, some weird notes. At one point, they talk about, oh, we're gonna put something on the moon, and then TP's verified. I'm like, verified. We went to the moon. I'm like, who doesn't know that?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's so kooky. This is the departure for this book. Once Richard Nixon and L. Ron Hubbard show up, this goes off the rails into crazy town.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also the parts that I didn't pay much attention to. I just could not focus on any of the military UFO stuff.
Well, because we're just following Milford at this point, and his adventures in chasing UFOs, because ever since he saw a spooky giant in the woods, he's been chasing UFOs.
Yeah.
At some point he says that Wyndham Earle shot Cooper, but I believe he stabbed Cooper. So that's another thing that's wrong. Yeah, and Jacoby lost his license, and then he went to Hawaii, so I'm wondering if he'll be back, and what would bring him back in Season 3.
Walter's coming back. He's got one episode listed here.
Oh,
jeez.
And Jacoby's back.
Okay, so
A lot
something
of spoilers
big
for the new series, people. Sorry about that.
Alright.
You'll just have to put a warning.
Very mild spoilers. Casting spoilers.
Spoilers.
Occupation.
Everyone is in the new series.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Verified. TP.
Sure we're probably in the new series.
Yeah. Somebody had a line. It wasn't attributed to anybody, but somebody had the line regarding Lana killing Doug. If that was manslaughter, sign me up. And I'm going to bet that was Harry Truman.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know how they try to say like, oh, his only weakness was women. But I'm like, what are you talking about? This guy is like, he's a Man in Black super spy that like fights aliens and like he can be like tricked by like a gold digger. Like, what are we talking about?
No, I'm sure some people are like that. They just have just their brain turns off when they see a pretty face, I guess.
But like, he's like going up against like communist spy. He is a super spy.
He never encountered any beautiful communist spies, obviously.
Apparently.
They're all super ugly.
And there's also a lot of ashes spread around Pearl Lakes in this book. Like, there's just ashes everywhere. Everybody's ashes are Pearl.
That's not even.
What?
But that's not even legal. Like, you can't even do that on like a Disneyland like fun ride. Like, I don't think it.
Nor should you be able to. Not even at Disneyland.
But yeah, in this book, a lot of people go up to spread the ashes of deceased people at Pearl Lakes. So it's just
a lot of like people's parents are dead or they're being taken care of in this book as well. I noticed
a lot of cremation going on.
A lot of cremation, yeah.
Oh, we go into the log lady story for a while.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Because it's all coming from Jacoby's brother.
Yeah. What is this? Is this a tragic story? Like, she gets married and her husband dies on their...
Yeah, at first I didn't know where he was gonna go with the article, because I was like, alright, this is kind of self-serving. But then it kind of went into something more interesting. And yeah, like, it was kind of fun to learn that. Although, it seemed ridiculous that happened on their wedding night. I didn't remember that was what the story was, but...
I can't remember if they mentioned the specifics or not.
That just I think that's a little much, I think. Like this weird Miss Havisham like scenario. On the wedding night, he goes to fight a fire and dies immediately.
And then
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and then everyone in the town just thinks of her as a weirdo from then on out.
Yeah, and if that wasn't enough, then we find out Jacoby's like, by the way, I'm telling you this story because I'm dying now.
Yeah. Spread my legs at Pearl. I keep saying spread my legs. Spread my ass at Pearl. Spread my legs at Pearl Lakes.
I'm sure Laura did.
No.
Because it's self-serving. Because he's like, I've been wanting to say this for a while. Like, why didn't you? You have a newspaper to speak into. Like, tell this story. Like before you're dying, asshole.
My only other notes are basically at the end of the book. Does anyone else have anything else they want to bring up before I get to that?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, at the end, Evil Coop visits Briggs. We find out Briggs is the archivist, and he's been working at Listening Post Alpha, which is, I guess, where he's been working through the whole series and stuff. That's where the station is. But Evil Coop comes to visit Briggs, and I think it would have been great. In fact, Mel thought this was what was happening. She's like, oh, Evil Coop's going to kill Briggs. And I thought that'd be great. That'd be a great way to leave that off. But, yeah, like as you alluded to before, he's like, oh, Cooper's at the door. I'm just going to write this down and then go meet him. And then he comes back, and then he's like, there's something wrong with Cooper. But it would have been great if that was, like, the end of Briggs. Because, I mean, Briggs can't come back. The actor is dead. So... now they're going to have to come up with some other way to get rid of him, but that would have been the perfect way to do it. Cooper killed him.
Yeah, I don't quite understand why they didn't leave that But also, like, we get all this setup of, like, this listening station and how, like, oh crap, who's our main character again?
Doug Milford?
Yeah, Milford. We get this whole setup of how Nixon, like, set him up in this position because after Project Blue Book came out and UFO talk was made a laughingstock, they had to have a secret organization to look for UFOs. And so that's what he was doing originally. And then he passed that on to Briggs. And now Briggs has been looking for somebody to replace him. And he wanted Dale Cooper to take over. So, wait, what are the qualifications for looking for UFOs? Just anybody can go look for UFOs?
You gotta have an interest in it, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. Do you need
You gotta have a curious mind.
Do you need a PhD to go look for Sasquatch? I don't know.
You have to be introduced while you're young. You gotta while you're young.
Gas. But I also love this whole part where, like, we get, like, Briggs is like, boy, I'm starting to feel like this was really stupid. You know, I'm seeing other people advancing in their careers, and I'm just kind of looking for UFOs.
Yeah.
My family's going to shit, and I'm just looking for UFOs.
For years. Like, for years. Nothing happened until Coop showed up, and he was there for years.
As much as I love Major Briggs, nothing is funnier to me than sad sack middle management Briggs.
Oh. That is interesting, though. I'm wondering how they're gonna explain him away now in season 3. But... so does anyone else have any more notes? Or do we want to rate it?
Oh, terrifying.
What?
I never saw this picture. Parsons' second wife. Whoa.
Jack Parsons' second wife?
She looks like a mummy.
Yeah. Good one.
Not his mommy.
No.
Oh.
Well, I'll go ahead and read it. I was very excited for this book. I thought it was going to talk all about the residents and the history of the town. And I liked the premise of a collection of articles explaining things. But I didn't think it was carried out the way it could in order to be an interesting book. I enjoyed 30% of this book, so I will give it a 3. I'll give it a 3 out of 10 retcons. Anybody else want to go? Oh, and I'm very scared for season 3 now. Okay.
Yeah. I'll go. Are you guys... I think you may be rustling some papers into a microphone or something there.
It is not I.
Okay.
Caitlin?
I was holding my book, but I'm not moving it. Anyways. Hold on. My microphone might have been touching something.
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So, it's a fucking mess. Like, this is just a collection of things that the only thing holding it together is this loose narrative with TP. And that's so strained that I think this needs, like, another draft and some coherent and less UFO nonsense. Like, if you're gonna, they could have done a separate book that was like, actually Doug Melford was like a man in black and he searched out UFOs and that was because he was from a creepy town, and just like completely divorce it from Twin Peaks. But that's a different book.
No, actually that's this book. That's this book. 70% of this book is that. So I would say that's
true.
This.
But it's sold on a premise of being the secret history of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not. It's just not. It's so fragmented and so many different things, and it doesn't work together. But it's kooky as fuck, and I enjoyed that. So I
am not a kook.
I am not a kook. Out of that alone, and it's a pretty quick read. Like, I knocked it out in like 2 days, so it wasn't a huge commitment. So for that, I'll go 5 out of 10. Richard Nixon guest appearances.
Well, good for you that you were able to to, go through it so fast, because we had to dedicate, an hour, because we were doing purely, the audiobook and following along with the book.
Yeah, 8
So we had to dedicate, an hour every evening or so, but we're like, do we have to do it tonight?
Let's skip
tonight. Take a break from this, because I don't think I can handle this tonight.
You fell asleep. You only did 6 out of 8 discs.
No, I fell asleep halfway, so probably more like 7.
See, I at least, because I had the Audible version, so I just had it on my phone. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go hop on the bus. One day I'm like, all right, I'm going to Disney World. Let's see what's happening on Twin Peaks while I'm on the way.
See, that's the way to do it. I feel like you need to be entertained as you're listening to the book, because otherwise I was not very entertained.
Yeah.
I guess I should do my rating since I'm talking about it. I agree. But I agree with Brad too, this should have been the first proof of the book, because it didn't feel like anybody really had a good look at the material. I felt like someone should have actually proofread it before it got published.
You mean for inaccuracies?
Inaccuracies, and just even for length. I felt like a lot of it was kind of, it didn't need to have all of those.
Well, that's obviously what he wanted to write.
I know,
about,
but
so.
Like you said, it could have been something else, But anyways, yeah, I couldn't wait to be done with it, so I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 10 rings that you absolutely must wear.
If you want to be part of the cool Illuminati club or
very
whatever.
Fashionable,
Yeah. Well, reading through the physical copy, it had no trouble engaging my attention. I was able to just sit down and keep reading. So it was interesting enough. Even, I really think it should have been divided up into different sections, and perhaps each section developed more. Yeah. Like Brad said, a lot of the weirdness was, I guess, what made it so interesting. And I think that it was a nice touch, a look over everything, but as you said, it should have been the first draft. So I'm also giving it a 5 out of 5 authenticated and verified by TPs out of 10.
Cool.
The book itself was very pretty to look at, though.
Yeah, the production quality is pretty.
Yeah.
It shocked me, because I think I started with the audio and then I dipped into the digital. How much of these documents are just documents? It seems like it's 50% documents that you're reading.
Yeah. I wonder if that made it much more expensive to make than just your standard book.
Definitely.
Okay, so does anybody want... We've got 2 pieces of feedback. One's short, one's long. Does anybody want to read this short one?
I'll do it.
Okay. This is from Gary oh my god, how do I say his last name?
Ayakubuchi?
Ayakubuchi. I'm sorry, Gary.
Or Ayakubuki.
It's probably Bucci. But he's a friend of ours that we met last year's Twin Peaks Fest. We hung out with him, with Matt A. and Will and. I'm sure he corrects people. I'm pretty sure I remember him correcting people on this before. I just can't remember how it's properly.
Yeah, I remember discussing this, but I don't remember.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Gary. I'm really sorry.
Anyways,
Gary says, the older books felt like TV show tie-ins printed on a budget, but this hardback, fully realized presentation is a beautiful piece. Along with Mondo's recent Season 1 vinyl soundtrack, it's evidence of Twin Peaks' new elevated status in popular culture. What's written on those beautiful pages, however, just doesn't hold together on its own the way Mark Frost wants it to. The epistolary format strains and struggles under the weight of this book's ambition. It's the classic problem with found footage movies. Why is someone filming all of this? Yeah. Or in the case of Secret History, why is someone writing all of this? Verified. The book's justifications feel contrived. How is there a picture of Bob? Why include any information? Yeah, that's true. Bob should be he only appears in mirrors and in people's hallucinations, I feel. But anyways. How's there a picture of Bob? Why include any information about Twin Peaks townies, sandwiched in the middle, when it seems like Mark Frost was much more interested in weaving together early American history and occult arcana with Cold War paranoia? The answer, of course, is that he had to give some fan service to those who have been waiting 25 years to find out what happened to Audrey in the bank vault. But if this book just turns out to be a coy sneak peek of plot points on offer for season 3, it will be quickly outdated. Still, it is an intriguing, if beguiling addition to the lore of Twin Peaks. Who would have ever thought Dougie Milford was secretly part of a military-industrial shadow organization? I'm not sure what to make of that. But then again, isn't that true for so much of Twin Peaks? Friend of the podcast, Gary. Thanks, Gary.
Nice.
Great thoughts.
Yeah.
Thanks for sending that. And our other one is from Sam Witt, who is another person we met at the Twin Peaks Fest, except we met him in 2014. So, maybe... Is that too long to send or something?
It's quite long.
It won't send.
You might have to split it.
Whatever. I'll just try to read half of it, and then maybe we can switch off. Can you move over, please?
No.
Okay, so Sam says, I was very excited to hear you are all discussing Frost's new book soon. I've got some thoughts for you. Firstly,
have I got some thoughts
got some thoughts for you? Have I got some thoughts for you? Firstly, I met Matt and Mel at the 2014 Twin Peaks Fest. You may remember me as the guy whose mother was a huge Little House fan and was mostly there to meet Charlotte Stewart.
Yes.
My mother and I are considering going back to the 2017 Fest, and hopefully we'll see you there.
Awesome.
Not us,
Probably not.
unfortunately. It's
very expensive.
Too expensive. I'd love to go every year, though. If you're on the Twin Peaks Reddit page at all, or if you hang out on Dugpa, you've probably come across my rantings. I'm /U/S/LS Wit on Reddit, one of the moderators of the subreddit, and Lonely Soul on Dugpa. Yeah, I think I've seen you on there. I browse that forum sometimes. I'd love to guest on your show and talk about this book because... Oh, I should have read this before.
Man! You failed!
Well, I mean, he sent in this whole thing, so...
We should have him on as a guest, though. Like
during one of the
new
episodes.
Season. Yeah, because we should.
Yeah. Okay, it's become something of an obsession of mine lately, but I'll dump some thoughts on you here, and maybe you can include some in your upcoming show. I'll preface my thoughts on the book this way. The book could just be a fun, tangential pet project by Frost where the backstories are made up and the inconsistencies don't matter. However, I want to set all that aside and assume that this book will factor into the upcoming season, and that any errors in this book, whether they conflict with what we saw in the series or if they're internal inconsistencies within the book, mean something. This book is a puzzle, much like Eckhart's Puzzle Box, and I feel the implications of its content will be explosive in Season 3. My first reaction to this book was pretty negative.
It's linked. Why?
Probably a Reddit post. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's got a few links here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On the first read, I devoured it so quickly I didn't give myself time to think about it and took the errors as evidence that Frost carelessly threw this thing together. However, my tune has changed. In an effort to fully understand the book, I've started putting together some research on certain aspects about it. One big one being an in-progress list of all alleged inconsistencies. I will link that to you guys. In the book, in an effort to see where that may lead us. I feel they're trying to tell us something. Another is a chronological visual timeline of all the dated events in the book, which is also in progress. By the way, it helps to switch the view from time, blah, blah, blah. That's something about the spreadsheet. Based on this research, I have a few possible theories about what the book could mean for Season 3. Number 1, alternate timeline. Oh no. Please don't be an alternate timeline. No. This isn't unique to me. Lots of people think this, but in the book, many dates do not line up at all with the original series. Cooper's case and Andrew Packard when the bank explosion took place, where Dr. Jacoby was at certain times, etc. There are even time inconsistencies within the book itself unrelated to what we saw in the series. For example, Robert Jacoby's timeline makes absolutely no sense. He's dead in 1969 and then alive again in the 80s.
What?
I can't remember if that's the case or not.
I can't remember either.
When he's younger, his age is all over the place. And in fact, in his final article on Margaret, in the span of a few paragraphs, his age changes and things get muddled. Again, assuming these aren't just errors, it's possible that some kind of time shift has taken place. The series and film even allude to this, with Annie showing up in Laura's bed before she ends up in the Black Lodge. Briggs disappearing for days and thinking he was...
It's gonna be a clusterfuck.
I really hope they don't confuse the new series so much. Briggs disappearing for days and thinking he was gone for a shorter period of time, etc. I think the influence of the Black Lodge, where time doesn't seem to matter as much, is creeping out into the real world in ways that have altered things slightly. What does this mean for the town/world, and what is the payoff? That remains to be seen. Number 2, the past is foggy. Frost has recently done some interviews in which he stated that the inconsistencies being supplied via an epistolary novel in which lots of different characters contribute are a feature and not a bug. In reality, even courts and police will tell you eyewitness testimony can be totally unreliable.
Yeah, but those are from different people and not from a writer.
The people speaking in this book could be mixing things up, not remembering certain things, projecting their ideal scenario onto something that happened, or lying for some reason. This makes me wonder who I can trust. Is Ducky who he says he is? Is he really Dougie Milford? Perhaps it's Wyndham or Bob at times. Should we put stock into all the archivist's statements? Is Gordon Cole involved? Is Tamara Preston to be trusted? Number 3, forgeries and edits. I think it's possible someone is messing with the FBI. Maybe it's Wyndham Earl, Bob, Gordon, Douglas, TP, etc. The culprit remains unclear. I just lost it.
Right there.
I like the idea that somebody is gonna fuck with the FBI by changing Robert Jacoby's age. Throw my investigation all together.
However, what is clear is that there are things any serious investigator of the dossier would have picked up on. Why is the stamp on Norma's postcard from a point in the future as compared to when the card was mailed? TP should have known/checked out the moon landing date and noted the issue. Not to mention the future stamp in the final book is not the same stamp as the one seen in the book trailer, which was also from a point in the future. I'm sure I understand that. Why would Briggs decide to chronologically compile this whole dossier while hiding his identity, then get to the end and just plainly state who he is? I was wondering that too. It's possible Garland's alleged hunt to find Cooper and the events that came out of that influenced his decision to do this. But it seems a little silly when you step back and realize that TP's whole job was to learn who wrote the dossier because it was some big mystery. But in the end, it's printed in black and white. TP's identity is strange as well. Her name is redacted so much early on, and then in the end it's given explicitly. I think Gordon might be involved somehow with at least this part. You also may have seen discussion of the typewriter number 1 versus the letter I. This might, or maybe that's the letter L, lowercase l. This might be a clue left by Frost alluding to who is really responsible for this whole dossier, or at least parts of it. I'm going to post the rest and somebody else can finish reading it. Somebody else want to pick it up?
Okay. How's Annie? There has been a lot of speculation on the status of Annie since this book came out. She isn't even mentioned. In fact, Mark Frost has been heard at numerous stops on his book tour explicitly stating that Lana Milford was the 1989 Miss Twin Peaks victor, which seems to erase Annie from existence, not to mention the other implications this retcon would have on Wyndham, Cooper, Norma, etc. For this, I think Mark and David are keeping their hands close to their chests, while Heather Graham is apparently not in the new season. It is possible she has been recast or that information about her will be revealed in some way still. I think Annie was left out of the book because, perhaps relating to some theories above, there is something very important about her that will be revealed soon. Frost himself has simply replied, "Patience," when asked directly about her. I don't buy she's been erased. I think we will learn more. UFOs and other history. Some people have complained that Frost went a little too far with all the UFO stuff. I don't. I think it was an opportunity to give a rich backstory to Dougie and to tie actual historical alleged sightings and cover-ups to Twin Peaks. Whatever the true nature of lodge spirits and the lodges themselves, perhaps the influence of these things is such that for years people thought they were seeing UFOs, aliens, whatever, but it was really some mysterious thing from Twin Peaks itself. And in Season 3, we will learn more about this influence on the world. As Dougie says in the book, whatever these things are, perhaps we as humans just aren't able to comprehend them, so everyone has been projecting their ideas of aliens and UFOs onto these forces. Will it matter? Some have said this book is just extra, that it's not important to what's coming. Maybe. Well, Frost isn't directing or editing the new episodes, and maybe doesn't know exactly what they will look like, plus the fact Lynch had nothing to do with the book. Mark did co-write the material after all. He knows what the story holds. I think with this new book, he's expanding on the earlier time of Twin Peaks, because those things will either directly factor into the new stuff, or knowing about the backstory will assist us in understanding what is happening. Okay, so that was a lot to dump on you. There's There's so much more I could say, but I won't take up more bites here. Again, offers on the table to speak more dynamically about this on the show. Thanks for continuing the podcast after all this time. And by the way, Monday, 11/7? Is that November 7th? Yeah, okay. We'll just skip that. Okay.
Mark Frost didn't ask me anything on the Twin Peaks subreddit.
And we missed it.
I'm sure you can go back and look at it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But thanks, Sam.
Yes, thank you. That's
sorry I didn't read that before. Didn't offer you a spot on the show.
we can offer him a spot.
I usually don't read the feedback until we're actually here, ready to read it.
You don't even skim it for you didn't used to skim it for spoilers? You used to.
Well, maybe I did. I haven't done that now that they're all caught up.
Now,
Yeah, there's no opportunity now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all our feedback. Thanks. Well, I don't know how much you guys enjoyed it, but thanks for joining us for the book, Caitlin and Brad.
It's fun times.
Yeah, that was good.
I didn't know if we were going to do this, but I did pull a quote.
From what?
Awesome.
Yes.
From what?
He pulled a quote from the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt, you seem so confused.
Oh, okay.
You know, this was a thing we used to do on this podcast that a couple hours ago I freaked out and was like, oh, fuck, are we going to have to do that?
You could pretty much open the book anywhere and write a good quote.
Yeah, but I'll just read this one real quick. Twin Peaks coach Bobo Hobson, in his 40th and some believe final year of coaching the Lumberjacks, remained philosophical after the game. I should have invested in my brother's bar when I had the chance. Will the town drown in sorrows tonight? He's gonna make a small fortune, and I can assure you, I will be among them.
Yeah, that's what Mel was talking about, where everyone in the town just seemed like they wanted to kill themselves after that game.
They were so down.
Well, the only quote I would have is just TP saying, "Show me the science, please," which I wrote down. Not a funny quote, but I liked it.
I had written down a part where Chief Joseph, there was a part about Chief Joseph where they said, according to his doctor, he died of a broken heart. And I just wrote afterwards, verified.
Nice.
You have anything, Caitlin?
I didn't write anything down, but I'd like to take the opportunity to open the book in a random place and read something.
Random place.
You just read a full paragraph
It's
of
gonna be a
random UFO shit.
It's going to be about UFOs.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, look, I opened it up to President Nixon. Okay. Yeah, it was about UFOs. That's really boring. I want something more interesting. I want part where he was talking with Hubbard.
I really did want to like this book. I really did.
Yeah, me too. I was excited.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered it long ago.
Yeah.
You got something?
Sure. I'll just read a very random paragraph because it'll be interesting and weird. Okay. President Nixon. I can't. Oh, it's page 298 or something. Okay. Listen to me now. It's even worse than we thought. Worse than I ever imagined. They never told me a fraction of their plan. And it was what they were planning all along. After Blue Book. You were dead on, Colonel. Blue Book was a misdirect from the start. Nothing but a cheap feint to draw the eye and tamp down public opinion. Yep, it gets... Okay, wait, one more sentence. The real action started in 1953. I don't even know for sure if Ike knew about it. If he did, never told me. They called it Gleam then. They renamed it Aquarius in 1966. One big fat fuck you to the hippies, I suppose, and it's still going.
Oh, Nixon.
Oh, Nixon. Who thought Richard Nixon would be a major character in this book?
Yeah. This book surprises you, that's for sure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, the group of us will be back again when the show comes back. That's either going to be in the spring or maybe even the summer. Still no clear date on when it's coming back. But it's all been shot, and it's in the process of being edited right now. I'm very worried now, when I wasn't before. I was very excited before. Now I'm filled with dread. But we'll hope for the best.
I don't even know why you're even thinking about this stuff. Like, I don't even give a shit about the show. Like, I don't know why you're, like, worried. Just accept that maybe it'll suck. Maybe it'll be good. Don't anticipate. Just when it happens, it happens.
You're talking like Cooper.
Yeah. Live in the present, man.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we should do some bottle throwing, like rock throwing.
I don't want this book to give me anxiety. So
No.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time. I'll probably be back before the new series starts with another couple commentary tracks on episodes.
And the anxiety will just mount.
I'll try not to think about it. But yes, thanks. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Check us out on twitter.com/TwinPeaksCast. Search for the Twin Peaks Podcast group on Facebook, and visit us on twinpeakspodcast.blogspot.com. Email your feedback to twinpeakspodcast@gmail.com.
And I see you, and you see me, and I see you in the branches that blow, and I breathe, I see you, and I trees, I see you, and I trees,
Here's a tune for you guys. Okay. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.